The airport was busy. People were walking in every direction. Some were rushing to their flights, pulling big rolling suitcases behind them. Others were sitting, looking at their phones or reading books. Among all these people, one man walked slowly. He didn't seem to be in a hurry. He didn't have a big group of people around him. He wasn't looking at his phone or talking loudly like others. He was wearing a simple black t-shirt, old jeans, and sneakers that looked a little worn out. His clothes didn't make him look rich or famous, but he was someone very well known. His name was Keanu Reeves. Most people didn't notice him. A few people looked at him for a moment, wondering if they had seen him before. But because he dressed so simply, they weren't sure. There was one thing about him that stood out. Around his neck, he wore a small silver cross. It wasn't big or fancy. It looked old, like something that had been with him for a long time. The light from the airport made it shine just a little as he walked. Keanu walked toward the first-class gate. This was where people with the most expensive tickets got on the plane first. He stepped into the line and handed his ticket to a flight attendant named Samantha. Samantha looked at his ticket, then looked at him. She hesitated for a second. Sir," she said, looking at his clothes. "I think you're in the wrong line. This line is for first class." Keanu didn't look surprised. He didn't look upset. He just smiled a little and said, "I'm at the right gate." Samantha checked the ticket again. It had his name on it. It was real. She knew who Keanu Reeves was, but she hadn't recognized him at first. He didn't look like the other first-class passengers. Usually they wore expensive clothes. Some had gold watches, fancy shoes, and big sunglasses. Some of them had assistants carrying their bags. Keanu didn't have any of that. He looked too normal. Samantha let him pass, but something about him made her feel uncomfortable. She didn't know why. Maybe it was because he was too quiet. Maybe it was because he didn't act like a rich person. Or maybe it was because of the cross around his neck. She watched him as he walked onto the plane and sat in his seat. She could still see the small silver cross resting on his black t-shirt. For some reason, that little necklace bothered her. She didn't know why, but she kept looking at it. The plane took off into the sky. The city below became smaller and smaller until it disappeared behind the clouds. Inside the plane, everything was calm. The seats in first class were big and soft. The lights were dim, making the cabin feel cozy. Some passengers were watching movies, some were reading books, and others had their eyes closed, trying to sleep. Keanu sat still in his seat. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't watching a movie, wasn't reading, and wasn't using his phone. He was just there, peaceful and quiet. And yet, he was drawing attention. Samantha, standing near the front of the cabin, kept glancing at him. Why did he make her feel so uneasy? She had met famous people before. Many of them were loud and demanding. Some acted as if they were more important than everyone else. But Keanu was different. He wasn't acting special. He wasn't asking for anything. And still, something about him bothered her. Maybe it was that cross. After a few minutes, Samantha made a decision. She straightened her posture, adjusted her uniform, and walked toward Keanu's seat. She smiled politely and spoke softly, but her words were firm. "Excuse me, sir," she said. "I just want to remind you that we have certain rules about religious symbols and shared spaces. Some passengers might feel uncomfortable seeing them." Keanu looked up at her. His face stayed calm. "Did I break a rule?" he asked. Samantha kept her polite smile, but her voice had a sharp edge. "It's not about breaking rules," she said. "We just try to keep things neutral. Some people don't like seeing religious items. We ask that passengers be considerate. Maybe you could tuck your cross into your shirt." She waved her hand a little, pointing toward his necklace, but without getting too close. It was almost like she was afraid to touch it. Keanu didn't look angry. He didn't look upset. But he didn't tuck the cross into his shirt either. "This cross isn't just something I wear," he said. "It's part of who I am." Samantha's smile didn't fade, but her voice became even firmer. "We respect that, of course," she said. "We just ask that everyone keep personal things private, especially in first class." The way she said those last words made it sound like she wasn't really asking. She was telling him. A woman sitting across the aisle looked up from her book. A man 2 rows back removed one of his earbuds. They were listening now. The air in the cabin felt different. Not loud, not chaotic, but something had changed. Keanu stayed calm. He looked at Samantha, then back at his cross. "I've flown many times with this cross," he said. "No one has ever had a problem with it before." Samantha hesitated. "Well," she said, "times are different now. Some people feel more sensitive about these things." Keanu nodded slowly. "I understand," he said. "But I also believe that respect goes both ways." Samantha blinked. Excuse me? Keanu's voice was quiet but strong. If someone sees this cross and feels uncomfortable, that's their feeling. But this cross isn't hurting anyone. It's not loud. It's not disturbing anyone. It's just a small part of me. Samantha shifted uncomfortably. She wasn't used to passengers questioning her like this. You're right, she said quickly. It's not hurting anyone. But it's just easier if we keep things neutral. Keanu tilted his head slightly. Neutral? He asked. Or hidden? Samantha didn't answer right away. Look, she said, forcing another polite smile. I don't want to argue. I'm just asking you to be considerate. Keanu smiled, but it wasn't a sarcastic smile. It was warm, kind. I am being considerate, he said. I'm sitting here quietly minding my own business. Samantha opened her mouth to respond, but before she could, the woman across the aisle spoke. I don't mind his cross, she said. Then the man 2 rows back spoke too. Me neither, he said. I think it's fine. More passengers looked up now, watching. Samantha realized she was suddenly alone in her argument. She sighed, nodded quickly, and turned away. Enjoy your flight, she said, walking back to the front of the cabin. Keanu said nothing. He just smiled gently, touched his cross, and looked out the window. The sky was endless, peaceful, and free. Just like him. Keanu sat in his seat on the airplane. His face was calm, his voice steady. I think you're picking on me, he said. The flight attendant, Samantha, blinked. Excuse me? If someone else wore a necklace with a tree, a star, or a stone, Keanu asked, would you tell them to hide it? Samantha opened her mouth to answer but then closed it again. She took a deep breath. That's not what this is about, she said. Keanu looked at her. Then what is it about? She said nothing. Instead, she cleared her throat, stepped back, and nodded. I'll give you a moment, she said. Keanu looked up at her again, slower this time. He touched the necklace around his neck, a small silver cross. This necklace has saved my life many times, he said. In war zones, in hospitals, and on nights when I thought I wouldn't wake up. His voice did not get louder, but it filled the space, strong and sure. I won't hide it. Not now. Not ever. For the first time, Samantha's face changed. She looked frustrated, maybe even upset. Her perfect, polite smile disappeared for just a second. It was quick, but everyone saw it. The passengers around them noticed what was happening. Some sat up straighter. A man lifted his phone and began recording. Another whispered to his partner, "Is that really Keanu Reeves?" Keanu didn't try to make a big scene. He wasn't looking for attention. He just sat there holding his ground, staying true to himself. Samantha, realizing she was losing control of the situation, straightened her back. "If you don't listen, I'll have to tell the captain," she said. Keanu looked at her with calm eyes. "Do what you have to do," he said. "But understand this, the problem isn't my necklace. The problem is in your eyes." The airplane became completely silent. It was so quiet, it felt like they were floating in space. Even Olivia, another flight attendant, stepped back. She could feel it too, not just the power of Keanu's words but the truth in them. Samantha opened her mouth, then closed it again. She had no reply, and everyone knew it. The airplane had reached the sky. Outside, soft clouds moved slowly below the wings. Inside, the first class was peaceful. People sat in their big, comfy seats, sipping drinks, eating fancy food. Silverware clinked gently. But in one corner, something was different. The air buzzed with quiet energy. People were still thinking about what had just happened. No one expected to see a real argument like that. Keanu sat back in his seat, his face calm. The silver cross on his chest lay still. He wasn't trying to prove anything. He was just being himself. Samantha walked back toward him. This time, her steps were faster, her face tighter. She stopped beside his seat. Her voice was polite, but there was something sharp underneath. "Sir, some passengers have complained," she said. Keanu looked at her. "About what?" She hesitated. The answer was clear, but she didn't want to say it. "About the display of certain symbols," she said carefully. "We want to make sure everyone feels comfortable." Keanu didn't blink. "A symbol of faith makes people uncomfortable?" Samantha took a quick breath. "Imagine if everyone wore political pins, religious signs, or messages. It would create division," she said. Keanu leaned forward just a little. His voice was still quiet, but it had weight like a heavy stone. "Then maybe the problem isn't the symbol," he said. "Maybe the problem is what people have been taught to feel about it." His words seemed louder than his voice. A couple sitting nearby glanced at each other. The man slowly tilted his phone, pressing the record button. Samantha straightened her back again, trying to take control. "I'm just following the rules," she said. "If you don't listen, I'll have to call security." Now people were really paying attention. More heads turned. A soft hush spread through the cabin. People sat still watching. Keanu didn't flinch. He didn't get angry. He didn't raise his voice. He just looked Samantha in the eyes and said, "Call whoever you need to. But know this, the problem isn't what's on my chest. It's what's in your eyes." Silence. Complete silence. Samantha stared at him. She could feel it now, the truth in his words. It wasn't an attack. It wasn't anger. It was just the truth. And that made it harder to ignore. A flight attendant further back stopped what she was doing. The couple kept recording. A few passengers nodded even though they didn't speak. A divide had formed. But it wasn't between different beliefs. It was between perception and reality. Samantha backed away, her jaw tight. She had no answer. She didn't realize it yet, but things were beginning to change. The air inside the airplane felt different now. What had started as a quiet disagreement had grown into something bigger. Keanu still sat peacefully, his necklace resting over his chest. It hadn't moved. He hadn't moved. But everyone else had. Samantha stood in the back of the plane. Her arms were crossed, her face tense. She wasn't just annoyed anymore, she felt challenged. Her authority had been questioned, right in front of the passengers she was supposed to lead. She could feel their stares, their silent thoughts pressing in. She looked down at her tablet, pretending to check something, but really she was thinking. She didn't like this feeling. Her uniform suddenly felt too tight, like it was squeezing her neck. Meanwhile, a young boy in seat 3A whispered to his mother, "Mom, why do they want him to take off his necklace?" His mother hesitated, glancing at Keanu, then at Samantha. "Some people feel nervous about things they don't understand," she said softly. The boy frowned. "But it's just a necklace." His mother didn't answer. A few seats away, an older woman adjusted the scarf around her head. She watched Keanu closely, her face unreadable. A few minutes later, Samantha walked toward the front of the plane. She stopped, took a deep breath, and picked up the phone that connected to the captain. She was about to make the call. But then she stopped. She looked back at Keanu, who was sitting quietly. He wasn't doing anything. He wasn't bothering anyone. He wasn't fighting. He was just existing. And yet, the entire first-class cabin had been shaken by it. Her grip on the phone tightened. Then, slowly, she set it down. She turned back toward the aisle. Her feet felt heavy as she walked back past the passengers. She could still feel their eyes on her. Keanu didn't even look at her. He didn't need to. The moment had already passed. And she had already lost. The airplane continued to fly smoothly through the sky. Outside, the clouds drifted like soft pillows. Inside, the energy had shifted. Keanu closed his eyes and leaned back. He wasn't angry. He wasn't worried. He was just himself. And that was enough. Samantha took a deep breath. Then she turned around quickly. "Olivia, I need you to come with me," she said. Olivia, a younger flight attendant, blinked. She looked confused. "Is something wrong?" Olivia asked. Samantha gave a small smile, but it wasn't a happy smile. "We have a problem. I need to follow the rules to fix it," she said. "Passenger number 2 is not listening to me. I need to tell the captain." Olivia hesitated. "Is this about the necklace?" Samantha didn't answer directly. "It's about making sure people follow the rules." Olivia followed her, but she didn't look happy about it. Back at the seats, some passengers pretended to be busy. They looked at their books or screens, but they were actually listening. One man near the front of the plane had his phone resting on the armrest. He was secretly recording the situation. Samantha walked back to Keanu's seat. She stood taller, trying to look strong. Olivia stood behind her, quiet, just watching. "Mr. Reeves," Samantha said louder this time. Now she was using his full name because she had finally realized who he was. "If you don't listen to me, I will have to tell the captain. If you still don't listen, we may have to call airport security when we land." Keanu slowly turned to look at her. He still looked calm. "For wearing a necklace?" he asked. Samantha's face turned red. "For not following the flight rules," she said. Her words sounded important, but something about them felt wrong. The other passengers were listening closely now. No one was yelling. There was no big fight. But everyone could feel that something serious was happening. Olivia spoke softly. "Maybe we should talk to the captain first before things get worse." Samantha shot her a sharp look. She didn't like that idea. But it was too late. The moment had changed. Samantha had tried to show she was in charge, but instead, it felt like she was losing control. 5 minutes later, the cockpit door opened. Captain Daniel stepped out. He was a middle-aged man with a kind face. He looked like the kind of person who stayed calm no matter what. He walked down the aisle slowly but with confidence. Samantha quickly stepped up to him and spoke. "Sir, we have a passenger who won't follow the rules. I told him to hide his necklace because it might make others uncomfortable. He refused. He is making the situation worse." The captain listened without saying anything. Then he turned to Olivia. "What do you think?" he asked. Olivia hesitated. "Keanu is quiet. He's respectful. He didn't make the situation worse. He just didn't want to hide his necklace." Captain Daniel nodded. Then he walked toward Keanu. Everyone was watching. He stopped at Keanu's seat and stood with his hands behind his back. He looked like a teacher talking to a student. "Mr. Reeves, I'm Captain Daniel," he said. "I heard there was a problem about a rule. I want to make sure everyone is comfortable on this flight, both the crew and the passengers. Can you tell me what happened?" Keanu looked up at the captain. His face was calm and his voice was steady. "Your flight attendant asked me to hide this," Keanu said, touching the small silver cross hanging from his necklace. "She said it might bother other people. I said no." He paused for a moment, then continued. "I told her that this necklace is important to me. I have worn it for years. It is not just a symbol. It reminds me of my faith, of how I survived hard times. I don't wear it to upset people. I wear it because it reminds me I am still here." The whole plane was silent. It was so quiet that they could hear the soft click of a seatbelt buckle 3 rows away. The captain listened carefully. When Keanu finished talking, the captain didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned to Samantha. His voice was low but serious. "Did he say anything rude to you?" the captain asked. Samantha opened her mouth, but no words came out. He turned to Olivia again. "Did he do anything aggressive?" Olivia shook her head. "No, sir." The captain sighed. He understood what he needed to do. The cabin lights had dimmed. Most passengers were resting, but Samantha couldn't. She stood at the back of the plane, hidden behind the curtain. Her phone kept buzzing in her pocket. She didn't check it. She didn't have to. She already knew what was happening. The video of what she had done had gone viral. People all over the world were watching. They saw her face, her voice, her words. They saw her tell Keanu Reeves to hide his cross. Her chest felt tight, not with panic but with something deeper. Shame. But not because people were mad at her. Because now she could see it too. She replayed the moment in her head. Not from her own point of view, but from everyone else's. From Olivia's view. From the passenger's view. From Keanu's view. She hadn't been fair. She hadn't just followed the rules. She had judged him. Quietly, politely, but still judged him. And that made it worse. A memory came to her mind. Her grandmother's voice. "Kindness isn't what you say. It's what you choose not to hide." Samantha had spent her whole life hiding. Hiding behind rules. Hiding behind control. Now there was nowhere to hide. From the front of the plane, the captain's voice came over the speakers. "This airline believes in respect, in kindness, and in the freedom to show your faith without fear." It was a short message, but everyone knew what it meant. Keanu sat in his seat, still calm. His necklace was still visible. He had won. But he wasn't celebrating. He hadn't shouted. He hadn't fought back. And somehow that hurt more. Samantha wiped her eyes. She took a shaky breath. She didn't know what she would say, but she knew she had to face it. She stepped out from behind the curtain. The walk to the front of the plane felt longer than ever. The lights reflected off the seats. Passengers looked at her. When she reached Keanu's seat, the cabin fell silent. He looked at her, calm as always. Samantha stood in front of him. The words wouldn't come. So instead, she let her actions speak. She slowly bent down onto her knees. Gasps filled the cabin. "I was wrong," she said softly. Her voice shook. "I told myself I was protecting the flight. That I was being professional." She shook her head. "But I was just protecting my own feelings." Tears filled her eyes. "I have spent my whole life hiding behind rules. I thought it made me strong. But really it made me blind." She looked up at Keanu. "I'm sorry." Keanu was quiet for a moment. Then gently he stood. He reached out his hand. She took it. He helped her up. The cabin was silent. People watched, but no one judged her anymore. They looked moved. Keanu gestured to the seat beside him. "Sit if you want," he said. Samantha nodded and sat. For the first time, she wasn't trying to act strong. She just sat real and honest. "I used to believe in something," she whispered. Keanu didn't say anything, but somehow she knew he understood. Soft sunlight filled a small apartment. Samantha sat in front of her phone, recording a video. No uniform. No makeup. Just her. She held the small silver cross Keanu had given her after the flight. She looked into the camera. For years, I thought being professional meant hiding who I was. She looked down at the cross. But this reminded me what it means to be human. She smiled. Today, I won't hide anymore. She paused. Thank you, Keanu. She stopped the recording. She sat there in silence, holding the cross. Not as a symbol of religion, but as a reminder of courage, of kindness, of choosing grace over control. If you enjoyed this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let me know what you think. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more exciting stories filled with adventure, mystery, and unforgettable moments. Your support means the world. It keeps these stories coming and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching, and I can't wait to see you in the next video.